Juvenile rights are really important to the justice system because when you have juveniles entering the system, if you can't be fair to kids, you can't be fair to anyone. I mean, kids have a real sensitivity to fairness. It's part of the core of adolescent development. And if the system isn't fair, then kids aren't willing to buy into the system. And when we ask kids, you know, here are the rules that you're going to have if you're on supervision, or here are our expectations. If the system hasn't been fair, then it's not going to be helpful to rehabilitation for children. One of the great things about practicing juvenile law in Wisconsin is that Wisconsin has a lot of protections for kids. Every child in Wisconsin has the right to counsel. But we also have some areas to work on. Some of the things that are happening nationally that haven't quite happened here is the use of indiscriminate shackling of children. A lot of states, and even some jurisdictions in Wisconsin, have said that it's harmful to have kids shackled when they're in court. And so they've decided that the default should be to have kids come in without shackles. That's a really big movement nationally that I think is starting to gain traction here, but isn't quite here yet. The other big issue for nationally is raising the age of juvenile jurisdiction. So most states now have a juvenile jurisdiction that goes up to age 18. Wisconsin, we still have 17-year-olds in adult court, but hopefully we'll be able to get 17-year-olds back in juvenile court soon. The key role of a juvenile defender is to represent the client's wishes. So juvenile defense attorneys are not a guardian ad litem. They are an advocate counsel. So it's, I think, a little bit funny for people to wrap their minds around the fact that you may have a 13-year-old as a boss, but that's how it works. So if the juvenile client wants something, that's what you go into court and argue for. And so you may have a 12-year-old who you need to be thinking about, is this client competent? Do they understand what we're talking about? Am I able to communicate appropriately with this juvenile? And you may have that same consideration for a 16-year-old. But kids really aren't just little adults, so that's some of the things you need to think about. Juvenile justice issues are important for every lawyer because every lawyer should be interested in what is happening in the system in which we work. So even for attorneys who never work with kids, they should know that they're part of a system that should be working. And so all lawyers, I think, have a responsibility to make sure that the entire justice system is fair. I think lawyers have the opportunity to help the juvenile justice system in their community just by learning what's going on and talking to other people in their community about what juvenile justice looks like. The interesting thing about juvenile justice is that the pendulum really swings on it. In the 1990s, we saw a movement toward punishment and away from rehabilitation. And with all that we've learned about adolescent development in the last 10 years, now we're seeing a swing back toward rehabilitation. And I think we are going to see a movement toward treating children like children and not like little adults.